Busy, busy feet, aren't they? I wonder where they're taking these people. And I wonder if these people know where they're taking them. They seem to be a symbol of the frantic and restless activity of our world. As a matter of fact, I suppose these busy feet would be a symbol of the world at every age. They tell the story of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman philosopher, who saw a friend of his years ago running pell-mell along the old Appian Way, and he said to him, "Friend, quo vadis, where are you going?" The man said, "Well, I've come from Rome." At least he knew the place he'd come from, even though he didn't know his destination. I'd like you to stop for a moment, if you would this evening, to ask yourself where your feet are taking you. In what direction? Are they directed toward God's needy in this world? I'd like to introduce to you a group of people who know where they are going. By the way, I am Bishop Joseph Hogan of the Diocese of Rochester, New York. And the people that I want to talk about tonight are the Legion of Mary. They're an association of Catholic people who work with the Church's approval and with the inspiration of the Blessed Mother of God. They've organized themselves into a legion to do battle for Christ and for his Church. The enemy has always been very well organized in its opposition. The legion uses the terminology of the army of ancient Rome. Like all organizations within the Church, it was humble in its beginnings, and it has grown today to become a worldwide force, deriving its strength from the inspiration of the creative Spirit of God and the blessing of the Mother of God. Its members are dedicated to their own sanctification through prayer and through apostolic activity. The story all began on September the 7th, 1921, the feast of Our Lady's Nativity at Myre House in Dublin, which still remains the headquarters for the Legion's activity. Let me explain to you now, in the following scenes, some of the life of the legionary, the activity, the apostolic activities with which they are engaged. It all begins with a weekly meeting, which is a must for every legionary. Gathered around the table, statue of the Blessed Mother, very prominent because the life of the legionary centers around devotion to her. We have the officers and members gathered in a weekly meeting. It all begins with the recitation of the Rosary, and this is followed by a discussion of the work assignments, home visitations, and so on, the apostolic calls that have been made during the week. Spiritual reading, a discussion of the reading, discussion of ways of improving the apostolic activity. And the meeting always concludes with an act of consecration to the Blessed Mother. Among the apostolic activities would be home visitations, and here we find legionaries going out to seek out the lost, the stray sheep, those who have become negligent in the practice of their faith, and feeding the hungry. Christ himself said that he would always be found wherever there was a hungry man in the world. Or bringing comfort to the sorrowful, to those afflicted, to the suffering Christ in the world. And may I say that the legionary would encourage these people to become auxiliaries to the Legion, to support those who can be active in the apostolate by their prayers and by the consecration of their suffering. Or helping our youth to learn how to enjoy legitimate recreation, to give them opportunities which their life would not normally provide for them. or to help them become useful members of society, teach them a trade. Or maybe just the useful art of self-defense. And Christ said, I was naked and you clothed me. And so we see the legionary engaged in this apostolic activity of collecting and sorting clothing for those in need. And again, comforting those who can no longer be active and who are suffering the pain of confinement. The legionary's life is not filled with social activities unless it is for the benefit of others. And here we see them providing a picnic for the aged. Or providing a good public relations effort. Here we see them in an airport, very often in many public places, talking to people, telling them the good news, not only of the Legion, but just the good news of salvation. Advertising the apostolate at our county fair. When we have something good, we want to share it with others. The spiritual director goes to many pulpits of the diocese in what is known as the Columban Plan to recruit members for the Legion of Mary. We have seen a small sampling of the life and activity of Mary's legionaries. Busy feet, weren't they? But definite in their direction. How about you? How busy is your life? And what are you busy about? Is your life filled with feverish and frantic activity, heading in all directions and yet going nowhere? Is it sound and fury signifying nothing? Does it fit St. Paul's descriptive language, sounding brass and a clanging cymbal? Or is it what the Christian vocation demands? A life with a balance of contemplation and action. Contemplation, a life rooted in prayer, and action, bringing Christ to the world as Mary first did. I cannot appeal to anything glamorous in the Legion. There is a minimum of social activities in its life, but it does present the challenge which forcefully reminds us that we are stewards of all of God's gifts. They used to say, keep the faith. The Legion says to all of you, don't keep it, share it with others.